Mike, thanks for taking some time. How are you?
How you doing, Maz? Good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Hey, before we get to this year's version of the
Sorry about
Argos.
Jack in the background. My dog is like the biggest media whore ever. Whenever there's a microphone on, he's going to start barking to get some airtime. So I apologize for that.
Hey, listen, everybody is one moment away from going viral, right? And then really blowing things up. And you know what? If it works, then Dad Mike doesn't have to work anymore because we're famous on the internet. And then the Argonaut can just be a sideline thing. Can we go back to last year's Grey Cup?
Jack has been on the SportsCage, and it won't be the last.
So last year, BC plays Grey Cup. Argos end up winning 41-24. And by the end of the game, it was dominant. But going into that game and maybe even through the first quarter, what were you seeing or what were you feeling? Because it was close. That was a good football game.
It was close, and comparing it to the game a couple of years ago or a couple of years prior in Regina, that one was a gut buster. Like that one was just up and down and back and forth. This one last year really seemed businesslike. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it was. I don't think anybody ever panicked. I don't think anybody ever thought that we weren't going to win the football game. Being down on the sidelines, there was no, okay, hey guys, this is getting away from. There was none of that. It was like, okay, next series, here's what we have to do. So it was really methodical last year, and obviously when Collaros got hurt, that didn't hurt. But I was very confident on the sidelines, and when Brissett scored the touchdown, I was pretty confident.
I can say without a doubt, I know in this household and many others across the province and throughout Rider Nation, we were the biggest Toronto Argonaut fans that day by about, 8:30, 9 o'clock that night? Hell, we all would have ordered a Argo jersey and hat from the online store because you did us the ultimate favor. A little bit of payback for the job we weren't able to accomplish. But for the third year in a row, Mike, you're a victim of your success. The Argonauts roster gets raided in free agency. And again, it's time to rebuild. You've been able to do it, but sooner or later, could the magic possibly be run out when it comes to restocking the cupboards?
Well, we'll find out what this team's all about when it gets healthy again.
Okay.
This is ridiculous this week. And I'm sure all the Rider fans who were cheering for the Argos a year ago are going to be doing likewise on Friday night. Okay, maybe not. But Chad Kelly's obviously out. The injured list came out today. Starting running back Deontay McMahon is out. Devaris Daniels is out. 2 of our 5 starting linemen are out. A couple of defensive linemen are out. Wynton McManus is out. His backup Jack Nassar is out. It's just on and on. Janarian Grant is listed as questionable, so I don't know if he's going to be up tomorrow. On Friday. It's right now it's a mess, and maybe this is karma paying us back for being healthy in the Grey Cup last year. Aside from Kelly,
the front office in pinball has done a masterful job going out and finding talent, because when other teams are signing championship Argo players as the free agents, you guys have had an incredible wealth of finding that next one. Who are some guys that on Friday, we would have no idea who they are, but you've had eyes on them for a while. That's going to be next man up, it sounds like, in a lot of different areas. Who are some of the guys that you're watching for Friday that may pop, that could become starters in this Argonaut offense and defense?
A guy that hasn't popped yet, and with the Daniels being out of the lineup, maybe there's an opportunity to see the football a little bit more, is Kevin Mittal. Kevin won the Heck Crichton at Laval and was our first-round pick a year ago. He was 5th overall. And just so many Canadian receivers on this team right now, and talented Canadian receivers. He was finding a tough time last year fitting in. This year, he reported 14 pounds lighter than he was last year. He wanted to gain some weight because he was playing the R position mostly. Knew he was going to be in blocking a little bit more. He told me that at Grey Cup last year, he was 234. He weighed in at 220 this year. That's a guy that may pop. At some point, he's going to. It's just a question of when and where. And, that's a good opportunity for him. And the other one, obviously, is Mayan Williams, out of Ohio State. Last week, in the game against Calgary. He had 62 yards rushing and 65 receiving as a running back. He goes about 235. He's about 5'8". He's a wide load, very powerful back. And that's a guy that may be in the spotlight a little bit more this week.
Mike Hogan, the voice of the Toronto Argonauts, is joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Riders in Toronto on Friday. It'll be a 5:30 kickoff. DeMonte Coxey, he's a young Geno Lewis. He's a 50-50 guy that it's not 50-50. It's like 85-15 when he goes up for a ball.
He's fun to watch, and he's even more fun off the field. He's one of those guys that has an infectious personality, always seems to be up, and just the kind of guy you pull for. But you're right. I mean, some guys have that knack where he can throw a football up. There's 5 guys in the area, and he's going to pull it down. Chad Kelly has gone to him time and time and time again in big circumstances. And, Arbuckle did it in the game against Montreal, where he made another circus catch in week 1, where he was, falling backwards, parallel to the ground, fully extended his arms and made the catch. He's that guy. And he's 3rd in the league in receiving yards. He's really good. And, if people still haven't hopped on the Coxey bandwagon because he was injured last year, I think he was on the 6-game list in the midway point of the season, but he's the real deal. He's a really good receiver. And if you haven't caught up to him yet, he's a fun guy to watch.
DeMarcus Christmas and Anthony Lanier, former Saskatchewan Roughriders on the Argonaut roster. What have you thought of them so far?
Well, Christmas played really well last week, but he got hurt. So he's not up this week. We also got Brian Cox off you. And
that's right.
He injured himself in training camp. It was in the pregame. It was in the warm-up of the first pregame in Hamilton, first exhibition game rather in Hamilton, but it happened during warm-up. So he's gone for the year, it looks like. And Lanier, boy, is he ever strong. He played so well a couple of years ago, and for whatever reason didn't have the same kind of success last year. It looks like he's back. He has a sack already, but you watch somebody on TV and you kind of watch from afar and you don't really get to know that much about them other than they're really good. I had no idea he's as strong as he is. Oh my goodness. He's just a truck in the middle. And, the Argo defensive line got decimated by free agency and trades and defection to the NFL. And, they filled in the pieces rather nicely. But again, the injury bug has bitten bad already this year. So we'll see Lanier certainly, but we won't see Christmas on Friday.
We loved Lanier here in Rider Nation, but him staying healthy, being one of the highest paid players on defense, made it tough. And you can't do that. One of my all-time favorites, and I'm glad we had him for just a few years. I'd still love to have him. Cam Judge in that linebacking core. And to me, it doesn't matter where Cam Judge goes. I'm going to be a Cam Judge fan. But even last week against Calgary, he's balling out, just doing Cam Judge things, being right where he needs to be. It seems like at always the right time.
He got traded here in, I think, January, and I talked to him the next day for a story for Argonauts.ca. And he didn't play well. He was hurt, and then he never really caught up in 2021 when he was here. And the first thing he said, I got something to prove because I wasn't the same. I wasn't me when I played for Toronto 4 years ago. He went back to Calgary, was their outstanding defensive player, their outstanding Canadian. Like he was just that guy, and he's been that guy again. And we saw it for a 1.5 games where he and Wynton McManus played next to each other, and oh my goodness, there have been some pretty dangerous middle and will linebacker combinations in the league over the years. And if these two are on and healthy for an extended period, this may be as good as any of them. You guys know firsthand how good Judge is, and Wynton is he's ridiculously good. So, we're waiting for Wynton to come back. Hopefully his injury isn't too bad, and we'll see the two of them pair up again fairly soon.
What is the injury to McManus? I thought that toothpick to me always looked dangerous, and I would hate if that got in the lip. Man, Mike, guys like you and I, we'd be down for 8 weeks, not just 6 weeks. What happened to McManus, and what's the prognosis on him?
He hurt himself in training camp. It was a weird injury, kind of slid out of bounds, and There's like a triple jump, long jump track just off the playing surface at the University of Guelph that's covered. Kind of slid into that and it hurt something in his lower body. And I have no idea if this is connected to that, but he didn't. I don't think he played in the first preseason game, and I don't know. Did he play in the second one? I don't think he played in either one, but came back and he's looked good. But he got a little bit nicked up in the Montreal game. I wasn't sure if it was the same injury, and I saw him after the game last week and asked how he was. He goes, "Oh, I'm fine," but that could just be a player being a player. But hopefully it's just this week, because he's the glue not only on the field but in the locker room. This is Wynton McManus's team.
I'd mentioned that last hour, how everything the Riders do funnels through Roland Milligan. Everything that the Argonauts do flows through Wynton McManus. And when you lose that guy, a lot of things have to change. We're chatting with Mike Hogan here in the Sports Cage on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. He's the play-by-play voice of the Toronto Argonauts. Riders are there on Friday. So when CFL final cuts were announced, the big name, Kadeem Carey, released by the Toronto Argonauts. Give us your reasoning as to why the Argos decided to go in a different direction.
Well, from a football perspective, there was nothing wrong with Kadeem Carey at all. 1,000 yards last year. Deontay McMahon, the team was ready to say, okay, this guy's ready now to be a feature back. And Chop Williams was available. He's a guy who probably would have been in the NFL, except he blew out his knee in his final year. So he's up here. He didn't play at all last year. He's up here to get some film to say, hey, I can go back and play in the NFL. So it was a rare, unique opportunity. Nobody wanted to see Kadeem go. And I think the way that John Murphy phrased it was that you don't want to offer a practice roster spot to a veteran who's helped you win a Grey Cup. Go out and find yourself a deal. And don't come up here, and we don't want to put you on a practice roster, pay you virtually no money, have to move your family up here and not be playing. So it was not only, I don't want to say it was necessary because of the guys that they have behind them, but when you had that opportunity with some younger backs, and you wanted to do the right thing from a football perspective, that's why he was released. And good for Saskatchewan. He and AJ, man, that's just not fair to second level guys if they can get to that level.
So it could be fair to say that when Kadeem rolls into town Friday with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, with something to prove. I always liked him when he came into the league with the Stamps because of how hard he runs. But as Coach Mace said, as hard as he runs, he's actually a very patient runner and will pick his spots because he has quick feet. He's that perfect combination of a hard runner out of the backfield, but he's a great blocker. And I don't think he gets enough credit for how well he catches the ball too.
Yeah, he doesn't drop anything. He is an all-around back. And the other thing that worked against him here as well, because we had the two younger guys, is the fact that his birth certificate is now on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
And, because of the way that he runs, he doesn't have highway miles on that tractor. He's got hard plowing miles on there. And, that takes its toll. And there's an old axiom, and I don't know if this is the case with Kadeem, and I'm glad he's played well in the limited action he's seen so far, but it's an old axiom in sports. It's better to let go of a guy a year too early than a year too late. And time after time, it's been proven wrong. And if the Argos are proven wrong, I'm just glad it's in the other division.
He had limited carries last week. I think at 4 or 5, got about 26 yards. They were kind of get him in. Along with the player turnover, there's also the coaching turnover. I mean, Mace comes here. What did you like about Mace when he was part of that Argos staff?
Everything. When I met Corey Mace, it took about 5 minutes to realize that we didn't hire Corey Mace. We were renting him. He had every intangible of being a head coach. He was the guy. He's a hell of a coach. Players love him. So does everybody on the staff. The coaching staff loves him. Everybody who has any affiliation with the team loved Corey Mace. So we knew he was going to go somewhere. And it's too bad when you have a guy like that you can't keep him. And Calgary found that out, and we found that out. You were the guys who jumped on him as a head coach, and I love him to death. I hope he has a long career and gets to the Grey Cup final every year and loses to us.
We had
That's
Ryan
the best
Dinwiddie
I can
on.
do, Maz. It's the best I can do.
Listen, ask an Oiler fan. Would you much rather lose in the Stanley Cup final or lose in maybe round 2? Because when you get that close and maybe ask a Bomber fan, when you get to the Grey Cup every year and you end up losing, does that hurt more than maybe in the semi or the West final? I don't know, to be decided. We had Ryan Dinwiddie on the show a few weeks ago. And to me, if John Huffnagel is at the top of the mafia ladder when it comes to being the quarterback guru whisperer, and then it was Dave Dickinson, that now is Ryan Dinwiddie's role. He is the current version of the guy that gets the quarterbacks right and teaches them how to play CFL football.
Yeah,
Nick Arbuckle comes in. Yeah. So Nick Arbuckle comes in spot duty in the Grey Cup, looks fantastic. But Nick has, at times, when he comes off the bench with no warning, looks great. With a lot of lead-up times, you don't always get the same Nick Arbuckle. Can you explain the first couple weeks of what you're seeing with Nick, where it's gone a little right, but a little wrong?
The first week may have been the worst week I've seen an offensive line group have in Toronto in I don't know how long, but they weren't good.
Okay.
They couldn't establish the run. Montreal basically peeled back and went after Nick. He made a couple of throws he wishes he had back, and he had a fumble he wishes he had back. It was that kind of week. Last week, basically more of the same. He threw a really ill-advised pass at the end of the first half, and it ended up being a pick six, and that was essentially the difference in the ball game. You look at the numbers; they weren't horrible, but I hate the term, garbage time. So I'll go maybe empty calories. Toward the end of the game, their numbers, but it was 2 scores down, trying to catch up. Almost pulled it out. He did get them within 1 score, but the defense was exhausted by that time because they just couldn't get anything going. Nick's a very smart quarterback. He does seem to have that one bad pick every game. If he can get through that, easier said than done, but if he can get through that, the Argos are in good hands. It's just getting past that one pick.
What's the prognosis on Chad Kelly's return? Is it days? Is it weeks? What's the word?
Well, I assume it will be quicker than 6 weeks because they didn't put him on the 6th week, right? They were doing it week by week and evaluating him. He didn't get clearance to fully practice until the day of the last preseason game, I believe, which was the Friday before cut down days. So he came back. He ran a little bit of light stuff. He's getting more and more reps as it goes along. He still hasn't taken first team reps, so I don't know if next week he gets the call, and who knows if the Argos win, Nick plays well, maybe that buys him another week. If the Argos are 0-3. You don't want to force a guy back, but that's the last thing they want to do. But sometimes the schedule can dictate things. But I think he's closer than being further away, if that makes any sense at all.
So if Nick Arbuckle is the replacement for Chad Kelly when he's out, and Cameron Dukes was released, who does Ryan Dinwiddie have in the quarterback stable that's backing up Arbuckle? Because there's obviously some talent there if you're going to get rid of Dukes, because maybe he wasn't the best, but definitely serviceable, but he's gone. So who's there on the depth chart?
I'll let you guess which state this guy is from by saying he's a quarterback named Tucker Horn. Yeah, he's from Texas.
I was going to say, it's got to be Texas.
Yeah, he's got that Texas quarterback mentality. He's got a big arm. Played D3, but was, a standout MVP, 3-time conference champion down there. They really like him. Whether or not he'd be number 2 up or whether it's going to be Jared Dagey, the former Edmonton Elk. Those are the guys that are in the fold right now. The 3 of them, those 2 in Arbuckle will dress on Friday. And we haven't had to see which one is QB2 in Ryan Dinwiddie's eyes because he hasn't made the switch. And obviously, in what he's hoping, he doesn't have to do that unless it's like a big lead and he wants to get one of the guys some reps.
Two of the teams a lot of people are talking about, but for different reasons. Montreal being really good and the Stamps being really bad. You've seen them both up close. Is Montreal as good as advertised?
Yes. How's that? This is why they pay me the big bucks. Even Jack is going, what do you mean, is Montreal any good? Yeah, Montreal's really good. They don't seem to have a weak spot. They're really well coached. If there was any question about the quarterback, it's been answered. They can run the football. They got really good receivers. Their O-line is good. Their D-line is great. They're just a really, really, really tough team. And you know that after the Argos knocked them off at home in the Eastern Final, they wanted to knock them off the same way the Argos wanted to do that to Montreal, who did exactly the same thing the year before. So it's become quite a rivalry. And you know that Jason Moss and Noel Thorpe were just kind of all off-season going, week 1 Toronto, release the hounds. And
all right,
that's what they did.
And on the flip side of that, everybody, including Charleston Hughes, who we just had on, picked Calgary to finish 5th and that they were going to be awful. But so far, they've looked pretty good. And if they beat the Red Blacks on Saturday, they're 3-0. What did you think of the Stamps last week?
Oh, they were really good. When you lose your starting center early, when you lose your best receiver early, when Begelton got hurt, and apparently that's a fracture on an innocent-looking play. That guy's he's been just death to the Argonauts. But Philpott stepped up, much like his brother did the week before against the Argos. They fly around on defense. They were making plays. And the one thing that they did exceptionally well, and Vernon Adams' nickname is Big Play VA, and they hit on all of them. There were probably 4 deep balls where the receivers went all DeMonte Coxey and won the jump ball. And it was just dynamite. And, full credit. The defenders on 3 of those had perfect coverage. In fact, Tavares McFadden once overran the coverage. By the time he turned his head back, the ball was behind him. And I think it was Philpott made the catch, and then Philpott made one in double coverage that was just insane. So, hey, sometimes the football gods are saying, don't write us off. And Calgary, they've got money special teams guys. Their kicker is, he missed 2 against us, which never happens. But Rene is just money. So you've got a really good team there. They're the experienced coaching staff. They've got some stuff to do. They've got different wrinkles with a new coaching staff in there on defense and on specials. So yeah, they're not dead yet. Don't write them off.